But hello, everybody. And look how bad it looks at the back. I didn't even see that now. Oh my goodness, let me move that camera. Okay, I didn't take my bag off the back, and that's where you see where I get a little bit OCD. That's the OCD in me. Anyway, welcome back to Friday, to the heart of the Ankara field with me, Chanti, where we're going to be checking out who enforces the system. We're going to be just chilling, hanging out with your chai or your beverage of choice, wherever in the world you are. Maybe if Janine was here, she'd be rolling a fatty and enjoying that, and just checking out the next two episodes of sequel to the fall of the Cabal. However, before that, guys, check out the Epstein files, right? There's so much going on, and South Africans have not been excluded. Listen to this. Zuma, ex-President Jacob Zuma. Now, again, let me just state, and I'll put out a disclaimer. I don't know this for sure. This is the information coming out on social media about the Epstein files, because I'm particularly looking at the Epstein files. And truth, Shiva Shakti, I agree, Rupert Epstein Rothschild, because you know that there's a vineyard here in South Africa called Rupert and Rothschild. So there already we have it. Anyway, Zuma, ex-President Jacob Zuma, has had some kind of a trafficking, not trafficking, I beg your pardon. He's been found in the Epstein files as well. Listen to this. I don't know if you guys remember, and a few months ago in France, okay, South Africa's ambassador to France, Natim Twetwa was his name. That happened maybe 4 months ago now. He fell to his death in some hotel room there. And guess who comes up in the Epstein files? His name has just appeared in the Epstein files. South Africa's ambassador, the late ambassador to France, he's no longer, he's left the earth plane when he fell down some hotel building in France not too long ago, just before the Epstein files were dropped. Now you all know, you hear me talk about Rob Hertzog, right? Rob Hertzog is currently being groomed to become the new leader of the Democratic Alliance, which is like if you look at South Africa's politics, he's, it's the party where black and white people are hanging out type thing, right? Anyway, these details have been found in Epstein's address book, although nothing more concrete has come out of that. Rob Hertzog. And everyone's making big noise about him becoming the new leader of the Democratic Alliance. Guys, we've done stuff on Rob Hertzog on the show before. Okay? Please, South Africa, let's open our eyes. Check out this guy. I can talk about allegedly, but I really don't actually want to do that right now, because the information that I've been given about him has been given to me by others, and I cannot back it up, but I do believe it to be true. All I want to say is be careful of Rob Hertzog. Okay? Contact details found in the Epstein files. And then, of course, Patrice Motsepe. Surprise, surprise. He is the brother-in-law of Cyril Ramaphosa, who is the current president of this country. His name is Patrice Motsepe. He's, I believe, one of the 3 or 4 richest men on the planet, right? And he got rich through mining, all sorts of deals, struck with all sorts of people. So Patrice Motsepe has made his grand entrance into the Epstein files, and of course, Rob Herzog, there he is. I even have a pic of him. There he is. Can you all see that pretty boy? You see, it's always the pretty boys that have a lot to say about a lot of things, right? We must not be deceived by the pretty faces and the slick talk. However, so I just thought I'd drop a few little Epstein bombs all the way from South Africa because, boy, I was actually reading some information, a link the other day where they was talking particularly about how Epstein had a special liking for South Africa and South African girls. And we know that. We do know that. And, if we just go back into the settlers in South Africa and how most of us came about here and who our ancestors are and who our bloodlines are. And if you're looking at some of the codes, the decoding from Jesse, we recently did a decoding of the Karoo, right? Now, I'm from the Karoo. The Karoo is the desert area. And by the way, in that area, Johann Rupert is the biggest property owner in the Karoo. Now, if you're listening to any of my shows with Beverly Rhodes, I'm going to say go back and listen. We were talking about what goes on there. The Karoos were the original place, the birthplace of the Khoisan people, right? The original people, the ones who have a very high price on their heads. Sacred energy there. That's where a lot of the Bushman paintings still are, you're going to find them, as well as paintings from the Anglo-Boer War, which is when the British and the Dutch fought against each other. That all goes back there. And this is the area that Johann Rupert owns mostly. Graaff-Reinet, the town I went to school in. He owns the majority of that town, and everyone thinks he's so awesome because he really does the upkeep beautifully. It's a beautiful town. And he's made it very famous and popular on the map. It's become the little Karoo hub where everyone goes now. It's amazing how to see how it's changed since I've left. But of course we know, and also that's where a lot of the spaceships have been seen to be upping and outing and in and out. And that's for years already. Years, the Owl House is there. So that's the area that Johann Rupert, who I have no doubt runs this country, is puppet to who? The Rothschilds, right? So who owns this country? The Rothschilds. Just another claw in the pie. I wouldn't even say finger in the pie. That's a claw in the pie. So that's what we're looking at here. Everything is connected. Everything. Just because we're in South Africa doesn't mean that it's not happening here. And this is what I love to hear. Tell us where in the world you are. What's actually happening there? Especially with this. And, I'm seeing a lot of stuff of Andy Epstein and hearing a lot of rumblings of others. No arrests have been made, right? Yeah, we're waiting. And I think that's very important because it's not just about Epstein. It's about this entire network that is being exposed. It's such a deep, dark network. We've got to take it away from Epstein because it's all about Epstein is the face. There's an entire network that Epstein is the face for. And I actually wanted to do the show today, and I'm going to probably do it next week or maybe even on one of the other shows this week, where Steve Bannon, but it's 2 hours, so we need 2 hours, is interviewing Epstein. I sat there fascinated at the way he dissects and breaks things down. It's almost psychotic, so I'd say psychopathic in a way. And he compares the financial system to the human body, which I found unbelievably creepy and yet interesting at the same time. Because you can see then there's no emotion there. It's a system, and we refer to as the goyim. Often you hear him on tape talking about the goyim. So, of course, we understand those are the Talmud Jews who think that everyone else is beneath them. But super interesting. So if you guys want to watch that with us next week, let me know. It's the Epstein interview. It's so true. I agree. Epstein is a distraction. I agree. Epstein is a distraction because we are now so caught up in these files. And I'm so glad, Sandra Lee, that you actually put that out there, because that was actually why I was mentioning this. But let us never forget, what is the sudden drop of all this information? Everyone's screaming and shouting about the same thing. Let us look at what's happening quietly. Now, remember, if you guys have been watching my series on the Ankara field, we really are talking about how to be able to discern. The only way we're going to get through this is by discerning truth from bullshit. And no one can tell you that. Only you can discern that. You can discern that. And that's what we're doing on the Ankara field. So if you're looking at, if you haven't yet taken the time to listen to the series on what it is, how it works. Of course, I equate it to the bees and the stewards and stuff like that. Bees, the hexagon is the most important geometry. Everything inverted. If you look at all the inversions, hexagon, 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 hexagon. It's about shedding light and flipping that hexagon. But how do we do that? We do that with knowledge and understanding of how to be able to coherently be the steady place so that it can be flipped. We don't go in with swords and chop each other's heads off. We are strong and coherent, and the light within dissolves that which is not coherent with you. That's what happens, and that's what we're doing. So you're right. I agree. Epstein is a massive distraction, but let us never forget there's a lot of truth there too. So as long as we're not seeing arrests or concrete evidence that something is being done about this and that the victims are being honored and supported throughout this whole debacle, it's another psyop. And that's why now, do the breathing, do the humming, ask, feel in your body. Your body knows. Your body knows, because remember, within every cell in your body is your spirit. Your soul is within you. And when you access that and align with that, you find truth. Truth finds you. Then you know who the good guys, who the bad guys, who's saving us, who's not. And at the end of the day, you're going to see it's got nothing to do with anyone saving you. You are here to save yourself. So, on that note, and when we do it together, it becomes so much cooler and so much easier. So really, if you guys haven't watched the information I'm putting out on solutions in the last couple of months, please do so. It's really valid information, and it's how we move and how we get through this matrix that we're currently in. Cool. Colleen, I don't know about all of that, honestly. I think there's a lot of psyops involved with all of that. But anyway, I don't know for sure. That's what my coherence tells me. Okay, guys, sit back, enjoy for the next hour or so. We're going to be watching who enforces the system. Or if you will just...
Next, or rather simultaneously, it was time for the Cabal to take revenge on Russia, once again. Financed by their partner in crime, the Rothschilds, they started the Russian Revolution. Their pawn and frontman, Lenin. His real name, Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov. Every historian will agree on the fact that Lenin was heavily influenced by Karl Marx, the founder of communism. But Marx wasn't Russian. He was German. Lenin was Russian. but as he spent many years in exile in Finland, Switzerland, England and Germany, he had become almost a stranger to Russia at the time the first part of the Russian Revolution broke out in February 1917. He was completely westernized. Marx had inspired him massively with his 1848 pamphlet, The Communist Manifesto. Lenin wasn't just inspired by Marxist communism, but also by his Jesuit background. Marx was trained in Germany at a Jesuit school, and after that he was tutored by Jesuits in the British Museum on the tenets of communism, as confirmed by ex-Jesuit priest Alberto Rivera. Another source of Marx being a Jesuit coadjutor, an assistant bishop, is Otto von Bismarck, who wrote in the North German Gazette that Marx was under control of the Jesuit priest Peter Becks, then Superior General of the Society of Jesus. And there was more Jesuit influence on Lenin. His right-hand man, Felix Dzerzhinsky, who was the head of the Soviet secret police, was a great admirer of the Jesuits. Furthermore, Lenin formally readmitted the Jesuits into Russia in 1922, which is rather strange, as religion was prohibited at that time within communism. But then again, was it strange? The origin of communism lies in the Jesuit ideology, as confirmed by many historians. The Jesuits in the 17th and 18th centuries perfected the first system of communist governance in their reductions in Paraguay. In the New Advent Catholic Encyclopedia, it reads, on the conditions of property, the economic basis was a sort of communism. The land and all that stood upon it was politics. According to the Rothschild archives in London, Maria worked as a maid for Anselm Salomon von Rothschild. Now there are two possible suspects of the rape of Maria. One, Anselm, who was 33 years old at the time. Two, his father, Salomon Meyer von Rothschild, who was 72 at that time. Now the Rothschild archives contain handwritten correspondence between the son, Anselm, and the London Rothschild Bank, which proves he was in Vienna at the time of the conceived pregnancy. His father, on the other hand, was in Paris. That narrows it down, don't you think? Secondly, in 1876, when Alois was 40 years old, he suddenly inherited a large sum of money. From whom? There wasn't any money in the family. Anselm Salomon von Rothschild died a year and a half prior, the time needed to pass an estate through the probate court. It was the same time Alois suddenly changed his name to Hitler, remember? Was that just a coincidence, or was it a demand by the Rothschilds in order to receive the inheritance, so that he would not be traced back to the Rothschild bloodline? Now please bear in mind that officially the Rothschilds were Jewish. They were the Babylonian Khazars who converted to the Jewish faith under pressure of the Russian king. Call them fake Jews if you like, but to the outside world, Adolf Hitler's father was half Jewish. If this ever came to light, it would be one hell of a scandal. And so, all traces of the Führer Adolf Hitler leading to the Rothschilds had to be erased. In 1921, the Munich Post intercepted a pamphlet that circulated among the early members of Hitler's Nazi party, the NSDAP. The pamphlet's title was Adolf Hitler, Traitor. It dealt with the alleged Jewish blood in Hitler's veins. It accused Hitler of fronting for Jewish finances and for acting like a Jew himself. The Munich Post decided to publish the pamphlet. On the very day that Hitler became Chancellor, the Munich Post was ransacked and its editors and writers were sent off to concentration camps, where they were never heard from again. The Austrian Chancellor Dollfuss investigated Hitler's family origins on 2 occasions. The first investigation, published in 1932, determined that Hitler's father was illegitimate, born to a 42-year-old unmarried woman and an unknown father. The second investigation determined that Hitler's mother was employed as a domestic servant in the residence of Baron Rothschild of Vienna. Shortly after, Hitler ordered the assassination of Dollfuss in 1934. Adolf Hitler once told his nephew, William Patrick Hitler, "These people must not know who I am. You must not know where I come from and which family I'm from." In an effort to erase any evidence that would lead Hitler back to the Rothschilds, not only were people murdered, but the entire village of Dollersheim, where Hitler's grandmother had come from, was completely destroyed on Hitler's orders. Adolf Hitler, the Führer, did not come out of nowhere. We believe he was a Rothschild, maybe an illegitimate one, but still. We saw in the previous series, in part 5, how the illegitimate James Alefantis Rothschild was pushed forward by the family to play a very important part in the US elite and their Pizzagate. Well, Adolf Hitler too was pushed forward the same way to influence the outcome of yet another Cabal war. Hitler was a great admirer of the founder of the Jesuits, Ignatius of Loyola. He said, "I learned much from the order of the Jesuits. Until now, there has never been anything more grandiose on the earth than the hierarchical organization of the Catholic Church. I transferred much of this organization into my own party." Hitler called Heinrich Himmler, the inventor and organizer of the Holocaust, the Reichsführer of the SS, and compared him to Ignatius of Loyola. The SS organization has been constituted by Himmler according to the principles of the Jesuit order. The regulations and the spiritual exercises prescribed by Ignatius of Loyola were the model Himmler tried to copy exactly. Himmler's title as Supreme Chief of the SS was to be the equivalent to the Jesuit general, and the whole structure and direction was a close imitation of the Catholic Church's hierarchical order. Absolute obedience was the supreme rule. Every order had to be executed without comment. Hitler presented himself as the solution to all problems. He offered jobs in the war and weapon industry. He got rid of everyone he blamed for Germany's problems. The Jews, the Gypsies, the Communists, the disabled, the homosexuals, and he confiscated all of their money. Hitler was supported by a highly efficient propaganda machine led by SSer Joseph Goebbels, who brainwashed the German people into believing that Hitler was some sort of a messiah and that the Jews were the cause of all evil. Well, we all know what happened. 85 million people died in World War II. But the Cabal wasn't done just yet. As you might know, in the aftermath of World War II, hundreds of thousands of Jews emigrated to the promised land of Israel. But did you know that this migration had already been planned by the Cabal in 1917? 22 years before World War II even started, Palestine was given away, literally, by Arthur James Balfour, Foreign Secretary of the United Kingdom, on behalf of the British government. As if nothing more but a chess piece, a country with inhabitants was given away to, guess who? Lord Lionel Walter Rothschild. But wait a minute, 1917? The First World War hadn't even ended yet. So how on earth could they be talking about a home for the Jews? The Jewish genocide hadn't even started yet. We're talking about the Balfour Declaration, signed by Balfour himself on the 2nd of November 1917. Dear Lord Rothschild, I have much pleasure in conveying to you, on behalf of His Majesty's government, the following declaration of sympathy with Jewish Zionist aspirations, which has been submitted to and approved by the Cabinet. His Majesty's government view with favour the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people, and will use their best endeavours to facilitate the achievement of this object, it being clearly understood that nothing shall be done which may prejudice the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine, or the rights and political status enjoyed by Jews in any other country. I should be grateful if you would bring this declaration to the knowledge of the Zionist Federation. Arthur James Balfour. Neither the Jews nor the Palestinians knew about this. It was yet another brilliant move of nothing but chess pieces by the Cabal. What was presented as a benign action in favor of the Jews was, once again, a divide and conquer strategy. It could only end in yet another war, this time between Jews and Palestinians. The Jewish people were willingly and knowingly murdered 22 years after the Balfour Declaration was signed. Why? Because the Rothschilds and the other Cabal families had but one focus: Jerusalem. It's not by chance that so many family members have Solomon in their name. The Temple of Solomon, Temple Mount, and therefore the land of Israel was their main priority. We will soon tell you why and expose their deepest and darkest secret. For now, millions of Jewish people were sacrificed in order to get there. There were many more wars to follow, like the Vietnam War, the Cold War. All were instigated and financed on both sides by the Cabal. That's how people across the world were kept in fear, paralyzed and poor, divided and subservient. Once you understand and see their strategy, you cannot unsee it. But the worst was yet to come, for times were changing and the Cabal adapted their strategy as time went along. Key words in their everlasting plan to conquer the world: hatred, revenge, disdain. These three words were perfectly combined in one document, the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion.
Interesting. I'm not sure how many of you actually watched the series, also that Joanne Breeze and I did a couple of months back, more on Rumble, on the, I think, gosh, the secret untold history of Adolf Hitler or something. We see different sides of the coin now, right? Because we were talking about, sure, that felt a bit like German propaganda as well. Now we see there was definitely another side to that coin. So, again, feel it. Feel it. Okay, let's go to the next one.
The Protocols of Zion, dismissed as a hoax, but we can assure you, after months of in-depth research, that they are not. They were slightly altered, yes, but they are not a hoax. In 24 protocols, the elders of Zion described their vision of the world, its population, and their ultimate goal: absolute world dominance and a one-world government. A new world order in which their king, the King of Kings, will be crowned on the throne of Zion to rule the world forevermore. Some people believe the protocols were copied from a 19th century book, The Dialogue in Hell between Machiavelli and Montesquieu by Maurice Joly, in which Napoleon was altered to Jew and France was altered to the world. Others believe the Protocols of Zion were copied from Machiavelli, Montesquieu and Rousseau, written by Jacob Venedey. Then there was the theory of our friend Baruel. Remember him? He believed that the original culprits were not the Jews, nor Napoleon, but the Masons. Baruel wrote a series of 4 books about the French Revolution, in which he presented evidence of the involvement of secret societies. So that's yet another theory. And then there was a court case, in which the judge ruled the Protocols of Zion a forgery. Like we said, we studied the Protocols of Zion for months. We compared them with the original French version of Dialogue in Hell between Machiavelli and Montesquieu by Joly, and yes, we did indeed find a lot of similarities. Some parts were even identical. Does that mean the protocols were copied? Stolen, if you like, from Joly's work? No, not necessarily. It only means they are connected. It only means the protocols were not new when they were published in Russia in 1905. They were not the minutes of a recent meeting between Zionists, as is claimed. But apart from that, one cannot draw any other conclusion. It would be a literary blunder to simply state that the Protocols of Zion were based on the work of Maurice Joly or Venedey or any other 19th century author. As a linguist with a degree in paleography, the study of ancient documents, I can assure you that most statements about the Protocols of Zion are incorrect, like the verdict of the court case, which was based on a highly unprofessional approach of the matter. The problem with the Protocols of Zion is that they are surrounded by emotions, that people who study them are confronted with their own belief system, meaning, if you blame the Jews of the wrongs in the world, you will tend to believe the Protocols are genuine. You will use the Protocols as proof of the evil of the Jewish people. However, if you are Jewish, or if you lost your Jewish friends in the war, you will tend to believe the Protocols are a fraud made only in Russia in 1905 to make the Jewish people look really, really bad. We believe the Protocols of Zion to be very old. It seems to us that they were the source text from which the other books arose, not the other way around. Remember Adam Weishaupt, founder of the Order of the Illuminati? In 1776, he put together a document that gave a clear overview of the aims, convictions and protocols of the Illuminati or the Cabal, the do's and the don'ts. That was his assignment, as given to him by Rothschild. Did he put those protocols together from scratch? We think that's highly unlikely. What if the original protocols were given to him by Rothschild? Remember the Constantinople letter given to Adam Weishaupt by Rothschild? Make no mistake, the Rothschild family was incredibly powerful. They were direct descendants from the Khazarian nobility that had fled Russia in around 1000 AD. You bet they had many original documents and protocols in their possession. Could those protocols be the original source text for the 20th century Protocols of Zion as published in Russia? If that is the case, you can rest assured that Khazar was altered in Jew, Khazarian in Jewish, etc. The perfect text that would come in very handy as a trigger for anti-Semitism in the Russian Revolution and both world wars to turn the Jews into the ultimate scapegoats. The more we studied this subject, the more we came to realize how the Jews have been used by the Khazars throughout the ages to receive the blame of everything. Everything that went wrong, everything the high-ranked Khazars did to suppress the people, everything was blamed on the Jews. After all, for the outside world, the Khazars were Jews, remember? Ashkenazi, Nazi. Do you still believe that's a coincidence? So, what exactly is in those protocols? Precisely what we see in our modern-day world. The protocols are a description of all the possible ways the Cabal used to control, manipulate, brainwash and dominate the Goyim, the ordinary people, the non-Khazars. Here they come, and you better hold on to your seat. Mind you, we narrowed it down for you, as there are not only 24 protocols, but also 293 paragraphs. We filtered them all down to the most essential ones, and in some cases, slightly altered the syntax of the sentences, so that the old use of words became more understandable. Each paragraph number will be shown on screen in case you wish to do your own research, which we highly recommend. We advise you to listen carefully. This might be boring to some, but it's crucial information. If you skip this part, you will not understand part 15, for instance. And we can assure you, if you don't have the shivers from top to toe by the end of this part, you didn't fully get it. And we advise you to watch again. Here we go. First of all, their disdain, their contempt is shocking. The mob is savage and displays its savagery at every opportunity. The moment the mob seizes freedom in its hands, it turns to anarchy, which is the highest degree of savagery. We are interested in killing out the Goyim. Our power is in the chronic shortness of food and physical weakness of the worker, because that implies he is made the slave of our will. We shall move the mobs by want, envy and hatred, and with their hands we shall wipe out all those who hinder us on our way. The Goyim are a flock of sheep, and we are their wolves. If we've been able to bring them to such a pitch of stupid blindness, is that not amazingly clear proof of the degree to which the mind of the Goyim is undeveloped in comparison with our mind? This is mainly which guarantees our success. The presidents are mere puppets on their strings. We replace the ruler of the republics by a caricature of a government, by a president taken from the mob, from the midst of our puppet creatures, our slaves. We shall arrange elections in favor of such presidents who have in their past some dark, undiscovered secret. This will make them trustworthy agents for the accomplishment of our plans out of fear of exposure and from the natural desire of everyone who has attained power, namely the privileges, advantages and honor connected with the office of president. We shall take the right to propose new laws or make changes in existing laws, as the president is only a puppet in our hands. Liberals and Masons are relentlessly used. The part played by the liberals, utopian dreamers, will be finally played out when our government is acknowledged. Till such time they will continue to do us good service. Therefore we shall continue to direct their minds to all sorts of vain conceptions of fantastic theories, new and progressive. Until we come into our kingdom, we shall create and multiply Masonic lodges in all the countries of the world, absorb into them all who are prominent in public activity. For these lodges are our principal intelligence office and means of influence. All these lodges we shall bring under one central administration, known to us alone, and to all others absolutely unknown, which will be composed of our learned elders. The most secret political plots will be known to us and fall under our guiding hands on the very day of their conception. Among the members of these lodges will be almost all the agents of international and national police, since their service is irreplaceable to us, as they have their own measures with the insubordinate. The class of people who willingly enter into secret societies are those who live by their reason, careerists, mostly light-minded people, with whom we shall have no difficulty in dealing and in using. But if there should arise in its midst a plot, then at the head of that plot will be no other than one of our most trusted servants. The goyim enter the lodges out of curiosity or in the hope to get a nibble at the public pie, and some of them in order to obtain a hearing before the public for their impracticable and groundless fantasies. They thirst for success and applause, of which we are remarkably generous. You cannot imagine to what extent the wisest of the goyim can be brought to a state of unconscious naivete in their arrogance, and how easy it is to take the heart out of them by the slightest ill success, though it be nothing more than the stoppage of the applause they had, and to reduce them to a slavish submission for the sake of winning a renewal of success. These tigers in appearance have the souls of sheep, and the wind blows freely through their heads. We execute Masons in ways that none but the Brotherhood can ever have a suspicion of, not even the victims themselves of our death sentence. They all die when required, as if from a normal kind of illness. Knowing this, even the Brotherhood dare not protest. By such methods, we have plucked out of the midst of Masonry the very root of protest against us. The press will be their golden tool to steer the mob. Through the press we have gained the power to influence while remaining ourselves in the shade. Not a single announcement will reach the public without our control. All news items are received by a few agencies. These agencies will be entirely ours and will give publicity only to what we dictate to them. All our newspapers will be of all possible complexions: aristocratic, republican, revolutionary, even anarchical. Those fools who will think they are repeating the opinion of a newspaper of their own camp will be repeating our opinion, or any opinion that seems desirable for us. The people shall be distracted with empty words and broken promises. We shall raise the rate of wages, which, however, will not bring any advantage to the workers, for at the same time we shall produce a rise in prices of the basic necessities of life, claiming that it arises from the decline of agriculture and cattle breeding. There is another reason why they will close their eyes, for we shall keep promising them to give back all the liberties we've taken away as soon as we have quelled the enemies of peace and tamed all parties. We shall distract them with amusements, games, pastimes, passions, people's palaces. Through the press we shall propose competitions in art, in sport, in all kinds. These interests will finally distract their minds. all layers of society will be infiltrated. It is from us that the all-engulfing terror proceeds. We have in our service persons of all opinions, of all doctrines, restorating monarchists, demagogues, socialists, communists, and utopian dreamers. We have harnessed them all to the task of drilling away the last remnants of authority. By these acts, all states are in torture and ready to sacrifice everything for peace and tranquility. But we will not give them peace until they openly acknowledge our international supergovernment and with submissiveness. We put our hands into the administration of the law, into the conduct of elections, into the press, into liberty of the person, but principally into education and training as being the cornerstones of a free existence. The administrators whom we shall choose from among the public with strict regard to their capacity for obedience will not be persons trained in the arts of government and will therefore easily become pawns in our game, in the hands of men of learning and genius who will be their advisors, specialists bred and reared from early childhood to rule the affairs of the whole world. We shall surround our government with a whole world of economists. Around us will be a constellation of bankers, industrialists, capitalists, and the main thing, millionaires, because everything will be settled by the question of figures. Who will ever suspect that all these people were stage managed by us, according to a political plan which no one has so much as guessed at in the course of many centuries? The ultimate threat. You may say that the Goyim will rise upon us, arms in hand, if they guess what is going on before the time comes. But in the West we have against this a maneuver of such appalling terror that the very stoutest hearts quail. The undergrounds, metropolitans, those subterranean corridors, which, before the time comes, will be driven under all the capitals, and from where the capitals will be blown into the air with all their organizations and archives. They will cause mayhem. We have stirred up every form of enterprise. We have armed all parties. We have set up authority as a target for every ambition. Of states we have made gladiatorial arenas where a lot of confused issues contend. A little more, and disorders and bankruptcy will be universal. This hatred will be further magnified by the effects of economic crises, which will stop dealing on the exchanges and bring industry to a standstill. Universal economic crises whereby we shall throw upon the streets whole mobs of workers simultaneously in all the countries of Europe. These mobs will rush to shed the blood of those whom they have envied from their cradles in the simplicity of their ignorance, and whose property they will then be able to loot. Remember the French Revolution? The secrets of its preparations are well known to us, for it was wholly the work of our hands. There will be a transition period. In order to put public opinion into our hands, we must bring it into a state of bewilderment by giving so many contradictory opinions that the Goyim will lose their heads in the labyrinth and come to see that the best thing is to have no opinion of any kind in political matters. In order for the people to become accustomed to obedience, it is necessary to give lessons of humility and therefore to reduce the production of articles of luxury. We shall re-establish small master production, which will mean laying a mine under the private capital of manufacturers. In the resulting chaos, people will fail to understand one another. It will discourage any kind of personal initiative, which might hinder our affair in any degree. There is nothing more dangerous than personal initiative. If it has genius behind it, Such initiative can do more harm to us than can be done by millions of people among whom we have sown discord. We must so direct the education of the Goyim communities that whenever they come upon a matter requiring initiative, they may drop their hands in despairing impotence. We shall so wear down the Goyim that they will offer us international power that will enable us without any violence gradually to absorb all the state forces of the world and to form a super government. In place of the rulers of today, we shall set up a super government administration. Its hands will reach out in all directions, and its organization will be of such colossal dimensions that it cannot fail to subdue all the nations of the world. The moment of the recognition of our despot will come when the peoples, utterly wearied by the incompetence of their rulers, a matter which we shall arrange for, will cry out, "Away with them, and give us one king over all the earth, who will unite us and annihilate the causes of disorders, who will give us peace and quiet, which we cannot find under our rulers and representatives." Then will the mob exalt us and bear us up in their hands in a unanimous triumph of hopes and expectations. Voting, which we have made the instrument which will set us on the throne of the world, will then have served its purpose and will play its part for the last time. The new kingdom will be blood-curdling. We shall create an intensified centralization of government in order to grip in our hands all the forces of the community. We shall regulate all the actions of the political life of our subjects by new laws. These laws will withdraw one by one all liberties of the Goyim, and our kingdom will be distinguished by a despotism of such magnificent proportions that we can wipe out any Goyim who oppose us by deed or word. The word freedom brings out the communities of men to fight against every kind of force, every kind of authority, even against God and the laws of nature. For this reason, when we come into our kingdom, we shall have to erase this word, freedom, from the lexicon of life, as implying a principle of brute force which turns mobs into bloodthirsty beasts. Freedom is the right to do that which the law allows. All freedom will thus be in our hands. In our programs, 1/3 of our subjects will keep the rest under observation from a sense of duty, on the principle of volunteer service to the state. It will then be no disgrace to be a spy and an informer, but a merit. When we at last definitely come into our kingdom by the aid of coup d'etat, prepared everywhere for one and the same day, we shall make it our task to see that plots against us shall no longer exist. With this purpose we shall slay without mercy all who take arms to oppose our coming into our kingdom. Every kind of new institution of anything like a secret society will be punished with death. Those now in existence are known to us, serve us, and have served us. But we shall disband them and send them into exile to continents far removed from Europe. In this way we shall proceed with those Goy Masons who know too much. Those we may spare will be kept in constant fear of exile from Europe as the center of our rule. One authority will be glorious because it will be all-powerful. Our authority will be the crown of order, and in that is included the whole happiness of man. We, the lawgivers, shall execute judgment and sentence. We shall slay and we shall spare. We rule by force of will. The weapons in our hands are limitless ambitions, burning greediness, merciless vengeance, hatred and malice. Resolutions of our government will be final, without appeal. Judges decide as we dictate them. When the time of our overt rule comes, all our laws will be brief, plain, stable, without any kind of interpretations, so that anyone will be in a position to know them perfectly. The main feature is submission to orders, and this principle will be carried to a grandiose height. Criminals will be arrested at the first, more or less, well-grounded suspicion. It cannot be allowed that out of fear of a possible mistake, an opportunity should be given to escape to persons suspected of a crime, for in these matters we shall be literally merciless. We shall re-educate the universities in a new direction. Their officials and professors will be prepared by detailed secret programs of action and will be so placed as to be wholly dependent upon the government. We shall replace the study of ancient history with a study of the program of the future. We shall erase from the memory of men all facts of previous centuries which are undesirable to us, and leave only those which depict all the errors of the government of the Goyim. We shall abolish every kind of freedom of instruction. It is indispensable for us to undermine all faith, to tear out of the mind of the Goyim the very principle of God and Spirit, and to replace them with arithmetical calculations and material needs. When we come into our kingdom, it will be undesirable for us that there should exist any other religion than ours of the one God with whom our destiny is bound up by our position as the chosen. We must therefore sweep away all other forms of belief. Our preaching of the religion of Moses has brought all the peoples of the world into subjection to us. Our philosophers will discuss all the shortcomings of the various beliefs of the Goyim, but no one will ever bring under discussion our faith from its true point of view, since this will be fully learned by none save ours, who will never dare to betray its secrets. Freedom of the press, the right of association, freedom of conscience, the voting principle must disappear forever from the memory of man and undergo a radical alteration the day after the promulgation of the new constitution. What we want is that from the first moment of its promulgation, while the peoples of the world are still stunned by the accomplished fact of the revolution, still in a condition of terror and uncertainty, they should recognize once and for all that we are so strong, so superabundantly filled with power, that in no case shall we take any account of them. And so far from paying any attention to their opinions or wishes, we are ready and able to crush with irresistible power all expression, all manifestation thereof, at every moment and in every place, that we have seized at once everything we wanted, and shall in no case divide our power with them. Then in fear and trembling they will close their eyes to everything and be content to await what will be the end of it all. We've been leading the peoples from one disenchantment to another, so that in the end they will turn also from us in favor of that King Despot of the blood of Zion, whom we are preparing for the world. The new king, the chosen one. This chosen one of God is chosen from above, to demolish the senseless forces moved by instinct and not reason, by brutishness and not humaneness. These forces now triumph in manifestations of robbery and every kind of violence under the mask of principles of freedom and rights. They have overthrown all forms of social order to erect on the ruins the throne of the King of the Jews. But their part will be played out the moment he enters into his kingdom. Then it will be necessary to sweep them away from his path. When the King of Israel sets upon his sacred head the crown offered to him by Europe, he will become patriarch of the world. This king will be the real Pope of the universe, the patriarch of the International Church. The protocols of Zion portray the world as it is today. Well, almost. The Khazarian King of Kings is not on the throne in Jerusalem just yet. The world population has not begged the Cabal to bring order out of chaos just yet. But are we far away from their end goal? Follow me to part 5.
Wild. Oops. I'm back. Wow. Hey, everybody. How interesting. So I wonder if you guys who've been watching this haven't watched Guy Anderson's interviews with me yet, then I'm going to highly suggest and invite you to do that, because a lot of what he's saying here is connecting a lot of the dots about what she's saying in this podcast. So we're getting to see through various means what the pieces of the puzzle are. And also, I mean, again, guys, I want to just remind you that, of course, information like this can be very triggering. But again, like we've been talking about with the Ankara Field series, and how do we discern? How do we know truth from lies? How do we know? There's a lot of people saying this lady who did this series is part of the Cabal. Maybe she is, maybe she isn't. But that doesn't mean the information is not good. And that's what we've also got to discern. So again, watch how this information lands in your body. Watch where it sits. How does it make you feel? And, don't have an opinion yet. Don't decide in this moment what you have to do and what you have to think. Just sit with the information, because this is also how we're learning not to get caught up in that web of chaos, right? So let's just sit with it, be with it, and allow your spirit to guide you as to what your next step should be. This is how we become sovereign. This is how we learn to trust that which is already within us. And this is how we learn to use those tools. So there's a reason that we're doing these things as well. What was interesting there, just a couple of things. Again, what Guy Anderson was saying about Hitler being a Rothschild. He speaks about that in the Tartaria series as well. In that series we did, I see Joanne's in the chat now, on the greatest untold story of Hitler on Rumble, right, of Adolf Hitler. It speaks about that as well, but not in the way it speaks about here. So we've got to take this information and check alongside that as to what is true for us, right? The Rothschild, again, from the Khazarian nobility. So we've got to look at how long ago that came in and how that's been infiltrated. And that's when I was saying earlier on as well about the interview I watched Jeffrey Epstein. Steve Bannon was interviewing him. And please let me know in the comments if you want me to do next week episode. Obviously, we'll follow on. But if you want me to play next week, the Epstein interview, and then we'll continue. I think if we're going to do that, it's a good time to bring it in, because he was brought in, from what I'm seeing, he was brought in by the Rothschilds, right? But there again, was that because he was or wasn't a Rothschild, right? He was a complete financial whiz, which is why they got him. And the way he dissects the financial system and compares it to dissecting the human body is quite shocking to me because it shows the level of, and I'm not a psychologist, but from my perspective, a psychopathic mindset. Because if we think about what's been done and some of the stuff we're hearing, and with obviously the tests in the laboratories and stuff, and how he analyzes and breaks down the way he sees the whole financial system, it's quite creepy. And at one point, Steve Bannon asks him, because he had been in prison, but this was after he came out, prior to obviously going in the last time, if he'd had what he thought about being this mega million guy sitting in a jail cell and working off his phone, and he said, nothing. He said, I'm not that self-aware. He said, that would require self-awareness. He said, I just saw it as how amazing that I'm here. Now, you know, when you have that kind of consciousness without the emotional empathy that goes along with it, or the spiritual understanding, what brought you there to begin with, in an empathetic way, it is super dangerous, because then it becomes what we call here the darkness or the dark hive. That's when it becomes that psychopathic level of consciousness where they are able to slice and dice and just do. And also, not in the interview that I was listening to, but in other just short clips of him, he speaks about the Goyim as what this podcast we've just seen now also speaks about, them referring to us as the Goyim. He speaks about us as the Goyim as well. So that tells me he was obviously born in that bloodline, heritage, consciousness already. Interesting. So let me know in the comments what you guys want next week in Drop-In. Would you like episodes 5 and 6, or do we listen to the Epstein interview and we can comment on that? But it is 2 hours long. I just want to tell you so. And I don't really think it's the kind of thing we can break down into 2 weeks. But let me know, and then we'll take it from there. But in the meantime, have yourselves a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful weekend. Take good care. And thank you so much, everybody, for watching and joining and commenting and participating. And I look forward to seeing you. It's Friday today, tomorrow with Jerry Marzinski, okay, and Janine Florum. Great interview. She's been on the show before. Crazy story. Then Monday at 4 o'clock South Africa time, which is an hour earlier than whatever the time is with you now. Danny Henderson and I, it's my big birthday on Tuesday. Hers on Monday. So we're having a complete, she and I getting together. So join us for some fun and talking, you know, the way that Danny and I do with some birthday celebrations. So bring your beverage of choice again and join us on Monday. Then at 6 o'clock on Monday, an hour later than now, wherever in the world you are, okay, Miles Johnston. Wow, Miles Johnston was the organizer, or is the organizer of the Basis Project, which is a big annual conference they have where they get all these guys coming together. Beverly Rhodes was a guest. Penny Bradley, who's also been a guest and will continue to be a guest on ARA, were also part of that project. And he actually started his career in the media as a broadcaster, like a DJ, and has had the most unbelievable experiences. And he's from Northern Ireland, and obviously in the UK. So he's going to be sharing with us how that web within the broadcasting system in the media works. So please join us for that as well. And we can hear what Miles Johnston has to say about that. Very, very, very interesting, man. So join us for that. So see you on Saturday at 6 o'clock. See you on Monday at 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock. And I don't think live on Sunday. No, not live on Sunday. Okay, guys, take care of your beautiful selves. Keep humming. Keep it real. Keep it strong. Keep it cool. Be cool. Be kind. Be yogi. Yeah. God bless everybody and have an amazing weekend.